But let's begin with the latest on the investigation into the weekend bombings in New York and New Jersey, including new information about what police believe led to these acts of terror. Just a few hours ago, U.S. prosecutors laying new charges against Ahmad Khan Rahami. Those include using a weapon of mass destruction and bombing public places. And with those charges, lots of new details about the suspect and what may have motivated him. For more on what we learned this evening, I spoke with Stephen D'Souza, who is in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
A lot of interesting things, and what these charge documents are what the evidence the investigators presented in placing these charges, and it really paints a picture of Ahmad Rahami as an alleged bomber whose methods are at the same time deadly and dangerous, but also incredibly incompetent. On the dangerous side, we've learned that from the documents that the bombs that he packed with ball bearings and steel nuts designed for maximum impact, maximum damage. But he also left numerous fingerprints pretty much everywhere investigators looked. On the unexploded bombs from Sunday night in Elizabeth, New Jersey, not far from where I'm standing, they found numerous fingerprints, as well as on that pressure cooker device found on 27th Street in Manhattan on Saturday night, another unexploded device, 12 fingerprints on that one. They were able to trace through various addresses, through the cell phones used on those devices, the addresses back to Rahami. They also found that he purchased many of the materials on eBay. One of the more interesting things, though, is that they have a video, a cell phone video from the phone of one of his family members, which shows 2 days before Saturday's explosion, Rahami going through a test run where he explodes a device in the backyard of a home not far from where I'm actually standing. And what's interesting there, Ian, is that that video came from the phone of a family member. Now, one final thing I want to say coming from those documents is that it confirmed that, in fact, a notebook was found on Rahami when he was captured, and it was filled with a lot of jihadist writing, praising the Fort Hood shooter, praising Al-Qaeda. It was also signed off with the following statement. He wrote in this document, "Inshallah, God willing, the sounds of the bombs will be heard in the streets, gunshots to your police, death to your oppression." So it gives us a much clearer picture now, perhaps, of the motivations of Mr. Rahami, as well as his methods leading up to the attacks. All of this, of course, simply the evidence police are presenting still has to be proven in court.
All right, Stephen, just stand by for 1 second. We also heard today more from the suspect's father, who says he actually contacted the FBI 2 years ago, warning them about his son after he attacked family members. His son did. Here's what the father said to reporters today.
Why did you call the FBI 2 years ago? What happened?
He's doing bad.
He's doing bad? What did he do bad?
He stopped my son. He hit my wife, and I put him in the jail 2 years ago.
So, Stephen, what more do we know about what happened in 2014?
In 2014, Rahami was accused of stabbing his brother in the leg, of weapons possession. Those charges were dropped because of lack of evidence, but the FBI, as a result of what the father said there, did open a file, but they closed it weeks later because they found no evidence and no connection of Rahami that he was linked to terrorists. However, the father even changed his story later, saying that he didn't mean his son was a terrorist, simply that he was associating with gang members. And so that's part of the story there. But we also know that Rahami did travel to Afghanistan and Pakistan between 2010 and 2014. So perhaps that could be his path to radicalization. Still a lot for investigators to determine.
And we can see over your left shoulder there the chicken restaurant that the family had. They lived over that. So obviously you've been in Elizabeth, New Jersey. What's it been like there today?
Well, this is a pretty tight-knit community, 60% Hispanic, and people here are just coming to terms with the fact that somebody facing the charges of this nature, walked amongst them, lived in this community. We talked to numerous people who had interactions with him, who knew him, from a guy at a tire store to a restaurant down the street. And many people say they never saw this coming from this individual, from Mr. Rahami. And so it's interesting to talk to people, but they also talk about the resilience of this community, how this is not going to divide people, this is going to bring them together, and that they are going to get through this. But at the same time, I spoke with the mayor as well earlier today, saying, you never wake up thinking that there's somebody making bombs in your neighborhood, but the fact that they got him off the streets, they're hoping now that their neighborhood is safer.
All right, Stephen, and I know you have more on this tonight on The National. Thank you.